Hello, this is Bill Roney, week number 5. Today's commentary is sponsored by Clicky Pens. Woohoo! They're fun to play with, especially if you get that one with 4 different colors. I'm not sure if too many of you knew about those pens, but they were a lot of fun to play with when we were younger. All right, this week's reading, 3 chapters, and the professor's report. I haven't got done reading that one yet. I've done the 3 chapters. Basically, you could probably put them all together in a very short paragraph and say the technology is not there yet for specialized testing, and there are a lot of security problems that's also aiding on why the technology is not readily available. And when it comes to ESOL, it's even, or teaching as the second language, it's even more difficult. So we can wait until they perfect for general education and we can do some testing. And I'll go over some different testing and stuff, examples that I personally have seen, and I thought it would be interesting to share. Now, like I said, the book was talking about the studies are typically small and they're trying different programs out and seeing what they can do, and they found it greatly limited. Now, there are some recent advances since the book was published, but there's still the same issues on how to create a core questioning that creates an equal testing across the board. And the most importantly, security of the test. Now, I don't like the way they wrote about the smaller tests. They go, there was either small tests and then life changing. Some of those smaller tests are also life changing. In America, we have a tendency to say all people deserve equal education. In general, that's always been that way outside the US, but they have different tiers of education. And some areas, once you got to middle school, you can be directed toward trade school or academia. We go straight to every kid deserves the right to be able to go to college. Now, those places that split, where you can go to trade school or academia and then to university, even though you go, or end up into a trade school route, you can still test back into academia. Or even if you pass all the way through trade school, you can still go to universities. So there was a myth in some of the teachers that have taught overseas. Once you get in trade school, you can never attend universities. That's a myth. But I do like they're talking about the security. Uh, I'm literally seeing people climbing up the sides of buildings to try to help students in the class taking the tests, and security's have to come out, get down off the wall. Imagine seeing somebody climbing the side of a building. It's interesting and nerve-wracking. When I was in Korea, I did not only the university entrance exam in middle school, I also did the English EPIC exam, which was for all of EPIC is the main educational group in Busan. So this was all of Busan. They came in, and not was it just for us foreign teachers. It was also letting the local teachers know some of the equipment that was procured before the testing, for these for the big exams, how students were cheating and what to look for. Some of them were wow, the coins. They had that would had little electronic things in the middle where the coin was cut in half, bored out, and the coin would click and it would click back and somehow signaling. A pair of glasses with a camera that was so well hidden that he had to actually literally show us where the camera was, and he had a live feed to his computer so he can see what the person is looking at, carry a pair of eyeglasses. So to combat some of that, they did was the day before, or a week before, you give an outfit to the school. They send it to their people to look through, make sure there's no bugs or anything in it. Now, Korean schools, when you go into Korean schools, you typically, like in Japanese schools, you take your shoes off, you put on a pair of slippers, and you go to class. They had these hospital-like slippers for you to put on the day of testing. You go up and you change your outfit, and I thought it was gonna be to put a belt on. They're like, nope, here's a rope. Tied a rope on to keep my pants up. Uh, Basically everything I had on me, I had to change it. They had special prescription glasses. I had to put those glasses on, take my glasses off. Could not take anything with us. The bottles of water that we would have in the classroom were already checked. They had took them to the classrooms, and those were the only thing that we're allowed to have in there. There was no labels because seen a funny meme where the individual showed a soda bottle and goes, "It looks like a normal soda bottle, but look closer." And when you zoomed in, you could see the answers to the test in the on the bottle. Now, I'm personally like, well, I wouldn't need a magnifying glass, and I really doubt that would look kind of suspicious, somebody holding a magnifying glass to the soda bottle. But, but now, like I said, the students were also given outfits, and they leave everything in the principal's office. Well, teachers left everything in the principal's office. The students left everything in. There's they had little offices for the different grades, and they leave all their stuff in there. The cell phones were all picked up, coins, pockets totally emptied. The outfits, changed outfits, gun in there, desk spread out. And the teacher's job, well, during the testing, is to walk up and down, make sure they're not coughing, sneezing, making any type of sounds. And you, as a teacher, same thing. You have to be as quiet as possible. I even had students say, I sniffled one time too many. So they gave me a warning after the testing. This student complained that you were sniffling. Uh, okay, next time I'll take an antihistamine, which I did the following year. That way, my nasal cavity is fully clear. I made sure I didn't slurp when I drank the bottle of water. And I'm not a big water fan. I, I like my sodas. All right, that was for the university entrance exam. Really interesting security. The same thing when I went through China. Well, it's not exactly the same, similar. Now, as for the English exam for the whole, let's call it state, it's a province, province of Busan. Different teachers are picked out, three teachers for different areas. The students would come in and they were set up, and they go to the first teacher, they ask certain questions. Some of the questions are the same, all three teachers. Then they go to the second person. They ask the questions, they answer. Then they go to the third teacher, ask questions, and answered. And then they would leave the room. We make a grading. The head the person in charge of the testing would take all three, do a comparison, and they would evaluate the students' English skills, care of the evaluation of all three English teachers. Um, Native English speakers or Korean teachers that have tested high enough that their English is fluent. Now, in China, it was typically one-on-one testing for most of the schools I went to, you know, and not always that quiet. You're sitting in the hallway while the students are in quietly working on assignments or homework or doing projects while you're taking one student at a time out to the hallway and giving them an English exam. I also was a piercing test examiner for higher level English skills, and that one was set up similar to the way the Korean was, Epic exam was, with three people testing. Except, they took it very seriously. They rented rooms in a hotel and closed off the corridors. So a student would come into the first room, get asked the questions, they answer, go through the second room, same thing, go through the third room, ask the thing, then go out the side door and out. They weren't allowed to stay. The students that were waiting to get tested were in another big room. weren't they didn't really They're mostly studying. I don't really know all what they were doing because I was in the room doing the testing. But they come in and we examine, give them questions and ask, and like I said, we grade them, and then we would put the test together, and the three of us would discuss the strengths and weaknesses, how good, how bad. Did they say too many of the or in the Chinese version of it, which one of my friends, when he first arrived, was like, "They're saying the N word? Are they saying the N word?" Like, no, no, wait, wait. Talk to them and watch their body language. And when they say it, listen carefully what they're actually saying and watch their body language. And he goes, "Oh, it's an N word, but it's slightly different. And it's basically the Chinese version of." So that's my take on giving out English exams. Could we make that into more technology friendly when you're testing for spoken English? In the future, is be a possibility. As the book says, not readily available, too many problems that need to be worked through. Probably let the general education work through theirs, look at what they got, and then we'll either utilize theirs or create our own, seeing what the problems are with the general education exam. A/B questions, true false questions, those are a lot more available. But like I said, we're teaching English as a second language. We're teaching some people are going to be teaching other languages. We could do open dialogue discussions like we're doing right now as a way of testing, but there's still some issues that need to be worked out. Now, I did find a couple things interesting, um, STEM. I know why this technology class really is pushing STEM. It's the key buzzword in politics. But I find that they're not. See something that's will be in the near future, somewhat already here, accelerated education, and there's a couple other ones coming out. They're saying we're not getting enough students through STEM, and they could already see some of the problems with STEM. So they're already starting trying to come up with the next political buzz for improving education, and accelerated education is one of them. Interesting. I look at both STEM and accelerated education, Common Core. So I shouldn't say both, and a couple other ones that have come and gone. And I find that most of them are associated. National Association of State Boards of Education, which when I was initially going to school learning education, they were like create lessons for the county, create lessons for state, and create lessons for the National Board of Education to get certified with them, and you can teach anywhere. Well, a lot of these, STEM, the computer stuff that's labeled as now STEM, these were done and created by the National Board of Education, reaching out to university people. I really suggest checking them out and their history. All right. So, like I said, this is sponsored by Clicky Pens. Those of the older generation would love the four color ones. Ding, 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 ding. To play with. That was our fidget toys compared to the new fidget toys that have come out in the last 10 years for kids that can't keep still. I'm one of those. I fidget, I play. Oh, and as for the technology that she was talking about adding into our lesson for assessment, Mine is group, so I'll put that in the other site. Thank you for listening. Once again, I probably went too long. And enjoy.